Okay, so here we are underneath my Jeep. I've got a lot of things I'm taking care of on this right now. But some of the comments I've been getting about the Harbor Freight lift is, can you do any front end work on it? And yes, you can. You can basically cover everything on the front end of the vehicle. If I had to remove this differential and I had to do some brake work and so forth, even replace the U-joint, I can do all that here without any problem at all. Now, a simple oil change is going to be a problem, because the oil pan sits so far back on this Jeep that I would actually have to use a piece of gutter or something to drain the oil. Now, if I was to turn this around, I've got a little bit more room on the other side of the lift. So an oil change would be a bit of a problem. A starter would be a little bit of a problem. I probably would get from the other side there, the side of the vehicle, and I would reach up underneath there. If I crawl up around these rams and stuff like that, I probably could do it. But I really don't feel safe doing that. So I probably would just reach in from the passenger side, loosen up the starter, and drop it down. Or I could turn the vehicle around, again, because the rams and the safety latch is not in the way. U-joints, I've just talked about that. I can replace those with no problem. The transmission, no. You're not going to be able to replace a transmission. There's just no room to get up inside there. Transfer case, that's been a question that I've been asked. No, you're not going to be able to do that. Next on the list, exhaust systems. Most generally I can get to all the parts. I mean, I'm going to have to reach around from side to side, but I can get most of the exhaust parts without much of a problem. Shocks, yep, I can replace all the shocks front and back with no problem at all. Gas tank, depending on the vehicle. On this vehicle I can, and I will actually go down there with this camera and show you that. On some smaller cars, absolutely not going to be able to do that because of everything else in the way, and I'll show that to you as well. Brake lines, depending on what you're replacing. I mean, I can replace all these brake lines with no problem. I can get to them from either side of the vehicle without being underneath it. As far as the brake lines down the center of it, I'm going to have to reach in from the driver's side or the passenger side and get them. And last but not least, rear end. I've had a question about could you replace a rear end on a vehicle, and I'm going to go down there and I'm going to show that to you as well. So I hope that helps you a little bit. So I'll transfer over on the other end and we'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, now I'm back on the back side here of the vehicle, and there's a little bit more room here because the hydraulic rams and the safety latch are not in the way. So as you can see, I can get to the U-joints with no problem. I can see the transfer case, but there's just no way of dropping that down because of everything that's here. We talked about the oil change, the starter, the U-joints, we just talked about that. Transmission, no. Transfer case, no. Exhaust system, as you can see, I can get to the exhaust system without much of a problem. I can get to a lot of it just on this back side, but as far as the pipe and stuff like that, I can get to that without much of a problem. So you have to kind of work around that. The gas tank, this particular vehicle, the gas tank is right up over our head, so that's not a problem to get to at all. On some vehicles, the gas tank is in the middle of the vehicle up in here, so it would be very difficult to remove the gas tank. Brake lines, no problem at all, especially in this area here because, again, there's nothing in the way with your brake lines. And Gus, the question I've been getting again is the rear end. Can I replace the rear end? Yeah, I can replace the rear end with this no problem. In fact, I did the rear axle beam on the Caravan that you saw, the minivan, with no problem at all. So that's not a problem at all. So just kind of keep in mind that everything in the center of the vehicle is going to be the problem. So if I was going to do a lot more stuff with this in the front end, say the starter, I'm going to do a lot of oil changes, then I may turn this lift around so I can drive in on it. Or I can just turn the vehicle around back in because I have more room here. I generally do not work underneath this at all. I'm just showing you that you can get underneath here and work, but I generally do not work underneath the vehicles. Most of the time I am working off to the side, brake jobs and that type of stuff. So fuel pumps, okay, fuel pumps and fuel lines and that type of stuff. Here's my fuel filter right here, so I can get to that. Again, you can get to a lot of that stuff from just reaching in around with it up in the air, but if I have to get underneath here, I can do that without a problem. So that pretty much covers it right there. Again, I've got a list of stuff here that people have been asking me, and I hope that helps. And again, just use caution when you're underneath this, okay? You know, primarily what you're trying to do is maybe loosen some things up, and maybe, you know, you can loosen up the exhaust from out there. But I generally do not get underneath this lift unless I absolutely have to. And even then, I use extreme caution when doing this. So again, I hope this helps you, and I'll be looking forward to your comments. Thank you.